the universe has three fundamental aspects which are intertwined, they work together, they are essential to everything, to every manifestation, as all three these aspects, even if we only recognize one of them when we talk about it and when we think about it. One is the material aspect. The second is the mental aspect. The mental aspect is the computational, the quantum physics aspect, what quantum physics is revealing to us. Quantum physics is considered just a mathematical theory by scientism. It's not even ontology. It's a mathematical theory that allows us to make prediction of what we can measure in space and time, because everything that exists is what exists in space and time, which is materialism. Materialism is the foundation of scientism, materialism and reductionism. But quantum physics say, no, everything is interconnected. They're not separate parts. There is entanglement in the quantum reality, which is the deeper reality. Where do we put that? Scientism ignores that completely because they don't know what to do with it. But if the universe is being shown by quantum physicists that it is holistic, meaning not made of separable parts, how can you start with separate parts and try to get to the description of the universe when the universe is not made of separable parts?
Yeah, I see
You
the
see,
trick
so,
there.
so all of those things that I can now articulate and say, they were all kind of, moving around my head, but I could not. I had to go step by step and trying to figure out many things, and also do a clean up of my own perception of self. Who I am, the psychological traumas that I had in the past that I never knew what to have. So it took about 20 years of personal work after I had recognizing that I am both interiority and exteriority, not just exteriority. So that first phase of my personal work was to recognize that I'm more than the body and understand the missing parts that I had not taken into consideration before. And it took 20 years of work at 30 to 40% of my time, because in those days I was running companies, couple of companies, and so it was not easy, but I put all that effort to do that. And at the end of that period, since the question is how can this work? How can this happen? As a scientist, the question was always in the back of my mind. I realized at that point that consciousness and free will had to be foundational. You had to start from consciousness and free will. You could not start anywhere else. They cannot emerge from matter, which is not conscious and doesn't have free will. There are two different categories of phenomena. So you have to start with them. And of course, consciousness is the foundation of what I call spirit now, the spiritual aspect, and free will also that. The mental aspect is the computational aspect of reality, which, there are people that thinks about that this world is a simulation in a computer. Come on, I mean, this is silly, right? But this world has a computational aspect, which is the fact that it has laws. What are the laws if not the expression of the computational nature of this reality? And the computational nature of this reality is what is expressed by quantum physics. So it is actually quantum computation, not classical computation, that is at the basis of mind, at the basis of our capacity to intuit, to make predictions, and so on. Predictions are probabilities. Information is probability. Ha ha. Now here's the connection between information and matter. Okay. And then, of course, the material world is the world of space and time, object in space and time, which of course exists. We are all part of. Uh, we construct together. And that world is the world that scientism believes is the only world that exists. No, there are three worlds that are intertwined, work together, they're inseparable, and every manifestation has to have all three those aspects. For example, give you an example. Quantum physics is saying that an electron is neither a particle nor a wave. For the longest time, they were saying, oh, the electron behaves like a particle, like a wave, so it's one or the other. But how can it be? There are two contradictory positions. But never mind that. Eventually, it settled in the 70s and 80s. The idea settled that an electron is actually a manifestation of the field of electrons. It is a quantum state, an excited quantum state. An excited quantum state means a state that manifests in space and time of this field, which is the one of the 17 fields of which this universe is constructed with. In other words, the electron is not an object, it's not a thing, it is a state. It's just like a wave, the wave of a sea. The wave in the sea is part of the sea. It's not separable from the sea. So the property of the waves are the properties of the sea. The properties of the electron are the properties of the field of the electrons. The state of the quantum field of electrons cannot be separated from the field. There you go, right? So matter, we call matter what is actually a manifestation of a deeper reality, which is the field. And the field has computational capacity within the field and also self-knowing within the field. And the self-knowing and the capacity to make decisions of the field is the spiritual aspect of reality.
Strange question. Why is it so important that we actually understand the nature of our reality? This has been a rub for you for more than decades now. Does it make us better human beings for knowing?
I mean, what are we here for? I mean, isn't that a fundamental question that everyone, you know, typically a child begins to say, why, Dad? Why, Mom? Why? Why? And eventually we say, shut up and eat. We resolve the problem with force from the outside instead of with cleverness and with
Curiosity.
cognition.
Yeah.
Because we don't know, right? And and we are busy, and so we don't have time to worry about this stuff. But in fact, what is science if not asking questions about how does this world works? For Christ's sake, I mean, science is that. What is spirituality? Is to find our connection with the whole. Spirituality is, what are we here for? Also, I mean, the same question. So, but spirituality, what is the difference between spirituality and science? Spirituality is trying to find within ourselves the answer. How? In an experiential way, in a direct experience of our connection with the whole. Exactly what I explained earlier. My experience was a direct experience of my connection with the totality of what exists because I was both the observer and the observed. How is that possible? I mean, once you had that experience, you can no longer think of yourself as a separate being, which is what scientism is saying. I'm separate from you. I'm separate from the objects that are around me. I'm just one of the objects. That is to know is the foundation, the crucial aspect of who we are. We want to know who we are. And we are here, in fact. I mean, now, this is a further construction over this thing, but we are here to actually know ourselves even more in our interactions with others in a world in which we can do things that we cannot do in our normal world. The normal world is when the body dies, we continue to exist as fields, not as bodies, as fields. Therefore, when we exist as fields, we are interpenetrating, like light interpenetrates other lights. And they don't. Light cannot hurt the other light. Cannot push on another light. You see, but in this reality, my body can actually push your body, can go against your free will. Not in the deeper reality in which we exist. I cannot violate your free will. But in this life, with my body, I can violate the free will of your self, which is controlling the body. And if you believe to be the body, then you believe that this is a mortal sin or a mortal, I can actually kill you or can actually kill me. So this reality is such that it allows us to allow us, not the body, the field that we are, the sati, the vaster self that we are. The self that we think we are when we are identified with the body is what we call the ego. The ego is a portion of the self that we are. I call sati the self is a portion of the sati that believes to be the body. And so only pays attention to the information produced by the body, which also observe this physical world, this classical world, this reality, classical reality, which is in front of us.
Hey there, Inspired Evolutionary. If you absolutely love this, well then here's a full conversation with this guest on the Inspired Evolution podcast. Check it out now.